The silent ceremony. The day began with a strange quietness that seemed to blanket the village. The sun burned low and heavy, casting long shadows over mud-brick walls and narrow alleys, as if even the sky was reluctant to shine too brightly on what was about to happen. Inside a small, dimly lit room, she sat on a wooden stool while women circled around her, fixing her veil, adjusting bangles, fastening gold earrings that felt like shackles rather than ornaments. The bride did not speak. Her lips pressed tightly together as if words themselves might betray her. Each movement of the women felt mechanical, rehearsed, hands weaving, braiding, tying, while their mouths buzzed with whispers about beauty, duty, and honor. No one asked how she felt. No one cared. And then came the moment. The door creaked open, and in walked the groom.
A boy.
Barely 15. His steps faltered under the weight of expectation. He wore a stiff white outfit, sleeves too long, collar too tight, shoes that did not fit. His eyes, large and dark, flickered with nervousness. He could not even look at her, his bride, who was several years older, her eyes deeper, carrying a pain he had yet to understand. The ceremony unfolded with chants, incense smoke curling toward the rafters. Villagers crowded outside, clapping, cheering, gossiping. To them, this was a union blessed by tradition. To the two children bound at its center, it was a silent tragedy. When the vows were spoken, the boy's voice cracked, trembling like a bird trapped in a cage. She said hers in a whisper, her throat burning. By the end of it, applause filled the courtyard. But inside their hearts, there was only fear. That night, when the feasting ended and the crowd dispersed, the bride was led to a room lit by a single oil lamp. The door shut behind her. Silence pressed against the walls. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her trembling hands, waiting for the boy who would soon enter as her husband. And so began the wedding night, quiet, suffocating, and heavy with shadows. The night of confessions. The boy entered hesitantly, his small frame almost swallowed by the oversized wedding robe. His steps were so soft, she barely heard them against the floor. He paused at the door, eyes darting nervously, as if afraid of what awaited him. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence between them stretched, broken only by the faint hiss of the oil lamp. Finally, he whispered, voice trembling, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. She turned to look at him. His face was pale, almost childlike in its innocence. His fingers twisted at the hem of his robe. He looked less like a groom and more like a lost boy searching for comfort. She sighed, the weight of his words pressing against her chest. Neither do I, she admitted softly. That honesty cracked something open between them. Slowly, haltingly, words began to flow. He confessed that he still dreamt of playing cricket in the dusty lanes, of sitting in a classroom with chalkboards and books, of laughing with friends without a care in the world. He had not wanted this, had not chosen it. She listened, heart aching. They took your childhood, she murmured, just as they took mine. Her eyes glistened as memories of her own lost girlhood surfaced, games she had never played, choices she had never made. For the first time, she saw him not as a boy forced to be her husband, but as a mirror of her own stolen youth. That night, they spoke like children hiding under blankets from the monsters outside. They made a silent pact. They would not be enemies, nor strangers. They would survive this together. Outside, the village believed a new life was beginning for them. Inside, two souls sat side by side, whispering the truths they dared not tell the world. Shadows of resistance. Days blurred into weeks. The village watched them closely, eager for proof that their marriage was real. Women clucked their tongues when the bride did not yet look weary with child. Men laughed cruelly at the boy, slapping his back, mocking his youth. The girl bore the brunt of whispered accusations. She was cold, they said, unwilling, too proud. Every word burned her ears, but she kept silent, swallowing her rage. The boy, meanwhile, shrank under the weight of expectations. His once bright laughter disappeared, replaced by a haunted quietness. But inside the small room they now shared, They built a world of their own. She comforted him when he trembled after a scolding. He told her about the lessons he still remembered from school, the books he longed to read. Sometimes, in the stillness of the night, they dreamed aloud. "One day," she whispered, "I will leave this village. I will find a place where I can breathe. And I," he said, his eyes lighting up, "will study again. I'll be more than what they say I must be." Their whispered hopes were seeds of rebellion. They knew the walls around them were high, guarded by tradition and fear. But together, they began to imagine a life beyond them. What they shared was not love as the village demanded, but something stronger: companionship, survival, and the courage to hope. The breaking point. The pressure mounted. Families grew restless. Elders began to murmur that patience had limits. One night, an ultimatum was delivered. The marriage must be proven. Terror filled their small room. The boy wept, his hands trembling. "I can't," he sobbed. "I don't even understand." She held him tightly, her arms a shield against the world. "You don't have to," she whispered fiercely. "Not like this. Not when they force us." But the elders did not relent. That night, they banged on the door, demanding proof, their voices thick with authority and cruelty. The children's cries echoed in the dark, shattering the silence of the village. The illusion of a joyful union cracked open. The neighbors who had laughed, who had cheered, who had called it tradition, now saw the truth. Two frightened children, broken by the weight of expectations. It was the bride who found her voice first. With trembling steps, she stood before the gathered elders, her face pale but her eyes blazing. "Enough," she said, her voice sharp as a blade. "We are not your puppets. You will not steal the last of what little childhood remains in us." Her words cut through the air, heavy with defiance. The boy clung to her side, silent but unyielding. Together, they stood against the storm. The dawn of freedom. What followed was chaos. Some shouted at her, calling her shameless, a disgrace. Others turned away, unable to meet her gaze. For the first time, cracks appeared in the wall of tradition. Some whispered that perhaps it was wrong, that perhaps the children deserved more than chains disguised as vows. In the dead of night, with hearts pounding, they made their choice. Whether through escape down a narrow path out of the village, or through the courage to speak their truth before all, they broke free from the chains that bound them. The boy, once a trembling groom, returned to his books, his laughter slowly returning as he reclaimed his childhood. The girl, scarred but unbroken, stepped into a future uncertain yet her own. She had no map, no promise of safety, but she carried within her the strength of defiance. The wedding night that began with silence ended with freedom. Not the freedom given by others, but the freedom they seized for themselves. And in the quiet dawn, as the sun rose over the village, the image remained. A boy walking back toward his youth, a girl walking toward her destiny, both no longer prisoners of tradition, but survivors who had dared to say no.